everything's rolling. We have all this redundancy. We can get a clap in.
All this redundancy. Now let's get a clap in.
And we're live.
Yeah. What's good, people? It's your boy Icarus Gray.
And it's your homeboy WordPlay TJ.
And this is the No Rhyme or Reason podcast, where we talk about everything.
Everything for no reason at all. Really quick, we got a new setup. So if you're watching this
Hello.
on YouTube, that's how you're gonna see it. Garrett, congratulations, your work is cut out for you. Like all you have to do is upload this one video. I feel like that's a win. It saves you so much time. Anyway, it's a catch-22 though. He'll have to edit clips, but at the same time, it like cuts his hours because the export is so long that he was just like getting extra hours. So I don't know. I'll have to compensate for that. I promise you. If you work 15 minutes, just call it an hour, bro. Please. But yeah, that's the new setup. I was gonna do a sponsor at the end, but no sponsor this time. We'll just do this one clean and call it a day. How you doing, bro?
Clean. I'm doing good. We got a couple things in the works. There's a employment interview for the wife tomorrow.
Nice.
Via Zoom for up there.
Nice.
So that's gonna be good. I think I was calling to remember what school or whatever it is you work. So because I couldn't remember, there's a video connection there that we're gonna see what happens.
Think of the video production.
Mm-hmm.
Nice, very nice. Yeah, I think that should be a shoe-in.
I mean, to me, a Zoom interview and they know where you are. That feels like one to me.
Mm-hmm.
But again, as this podcast has shown, we be big wrong.
So I'll make sure I'll reach out to her on a side note right after this and see what's up.
Yep.
I don't know. So I got to do my check-in, I guess.
Indeed.
How am I doing?
How art thou?
I'm good overall. Pretty good spirits. I'm getting some time to kind of like knock some things out. Been updating a lot of the publishing on the back end and stuff. Spent some time like meeting with folks at the district and getting things squared away for the next school year.
We are way too close to the school year, bro.
Yeah, it's going by fast.
I have never, you know how many years it's been since I felt a summer and actually been able to enjoy a summer?
Yeah,
like,
well, like 2
in
years
that
for me.
It's been, I have not had like a summer since like 2007, 2008, where I was like just off, not working, not doing something, not having to like I can take a week off in the fall or I can take a weekend off in the summer. But I've done restaurants and retail pretty much since 2008.
Yeah.
So they, while you might get a day off, you still got to, be in the day after that holiday or whatever. So it's been weird to see how quick this summer went by, man. Like I hated that. I don't know about you, but I hated that feeling back in the day.
I did hate it. I think I spent a lot of time drawing and making music and all that other stuff. So yeah, it was kind of annoying.
Because the countdown starts so quick, and you know how our parents were. So we'd end up in vacation Bible school or something for 2 weeks of that.
Yeah.
week and or well, a week of that, and then you'd have something else that took up another week, and then maybe you got a couple days to like be outside or whatever, and that's like the first month gone. The second month, y'all are getting ready to go on a vacation. Maybe you got some summer reading or something that I didn't do regardless, but you had that going on. And then the last month is you got to spend a week going and picking your classes, walking around the new school, going and getting new clothes, and then you back at school.
Yeah, yeah. I
Oof.
think it's different as adults.
Oh, for
Most
sure.
people work 365, right? And
Yeah.
just about. So I got some privilege as a teacher to not have to be there all
Yeah.
year, but at the same time, like I still do work in the summer, so don't get it twisted. It ain't all relaxation out here.
Yeah. Like
It's
getting
just I
that
can I can kind of go at my own pace.
facts. And that's the thing that I think I want more to grasp a hold of is having that time where you could have a month to not do something because you've worked, you know, if you work 11 months out of the year, saving wise, building success, you should be able to give yourself a little bit of time. Now, will we get bored with it probably quick because we're so used to this?
Yeah,
Probably, but it's still good to kind of reach that point. But all in all, hoping that you're having a good summer in and of itself.
yeah. A couple weeks from now, I'm gonna start the pre-production phase of my next project, and we'll talk about that more in overtime.
Overtime.
So yeah, that's kind of where I am. First topic.
Pizzle?
What?
Pizzle? See, Pizzle.
Oh no, no, that's the last topic.
Oh, we saving it for. Oh,
Uh, so
y'all gonna
so
want to stay
so
around
yeah,
for
the
that.
order I got it in is first topic is COVID and our rise in cases. So just a report. New York Times has reported that there's a rise in cases. I believe last I checked on Google, the new cases were around 65,000, and that's starting to hit a point where it was when we first started the pandemic. What was that? 2020.
Yep.
So
2020. I think the rise would have been. Well, I know like there were the starter was around March. Peak was probably around that summer, maybe.
peak was like a little after December in
Okay.
January.
So
The
into
the
flu season, the
the
actual flu
yeah
season.
the peak was into January of this year, and so also another important statistic is about 49% of Americans are vaccinated. So half of American adults are vaccinated, and they might be counting all Americans because kids can get vaccinations, but this chart kind of stops at 200 million, so I'm thinking kids are removed from that.
Okay. And then we also have to account for which I think I believe is still a factual thing. We have to account for the slight skewed numbers in terms of the deaths. Um, so if you had COVID, you got over it, but like you got into a wreck or something, they would attribute the death to COVID.
Yeah, I don't know if that's
So
100% valid. Just me personally, I think some states did it right, some states may have done it wrong, and I
yeah.
think that's where those
Well, it was one of
conflicting
those like,
views are coming
for the
from.
states that seemed more um conservative, I guess. But all in all, the biggest issue is not so much what the information is, it's our actions based on it.
Yeah. So
Because
currently, what we're seeing is that you know half of adults roughly are vaccinated. That means that the other unvaccinated folks are usually the ones that have had their mask off for some time,
for the
and
entire time.
and 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 hated it, but they're the one that, for the most part, that are catching cases.
Yep.
The CDC has reported that it's very unlikely that you would catch COVID again if you're double vaxxed. There are cases where some people have, but ultimately, most of the new cases are coming from unvaccinated folks.
And my take on it was that's due to our response to all of this. So either you're vaccinated and you're trusting everybody else around you
Mm-hmm.
to also be vaccinated, which a lot of people are not, or you're not vaccinated and you're trying to use all of the allowances of those who are vaccinated, or those who care. And we're still in that position where,
Break that down a little bit more because I think that might be difficult for folks to
okay.
track.
So basically, if you're vaccinated, um, you have a lot of freedom. There are a lot of people who are not vaxxed around you who have taken the liberty of not wearing their masks, not, doing anything because they're either afraid of the vaccinations, don't believe in them, just, COVID is a scam, whatever it is. So there's going to be an increase there. And it's not from the vaccinated people, obviously, in that sense, because the amount of people who are vaccinated who are transmitting something is going to be very low. Um, but it's pretty much people just saying, I want normal, to make it even simpler.
Yeah.
We're
So
in an, oh, sorry, go ahead.
so I'm just thinking like, so the folks basically, and this is the thing that I've talked about a lot, is how do you know that somebody's vaccinated in the grocery store? And so you go to the grocery store. The policy is if you're if you are vaccinated, you can take off your mask. How do you know that person across the aisle is vaccinated and has their mask off? So I think this is what you're talking about,
Yes.
where they're taking advantage of the loosened guidelines for folks that are vaccinated, and
Right.
just because they didn't ever want to do it in the first place.
No, and they wanted to get back to normal. And so that's what we're dealing with. And so there were so many people who didn't take this seriously in the first place. And those are still those people that, as we report, 49%, almost half of America, it's the other half.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we're dealing with, and I don't know how much information there is on the Delta variant, so on and so forth, but it's more so just like, I don't find it as a huge cause for alarm because I look at it like the flu shot. I look at it like the how the flu mutates every year, which is why we have to get vaccinated for the flu every year because there is a mutation of some sort coming. So I'm not looking at it like it's the end all be all, because even with the symptoms that they've reported on the news compared to what it was for regular COVID, this one's even more undetectable in terms of you knowing it, because you're really just like, it's like a bad allergy because you're sneezing a lot and you're not losing your taste and all these other things. Um, so we just end up in this place where, how do you know?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know that I want to take a gamble on a lot of that stuff with people.
I The thing is that when I was double vax, I felt way more safe than I had in any other point in time
Mhm.
this time frame, and that the reason is I felt that even though people can go out and they can do things that aren't very logical as far as like getting vaccinations and that type of thing, and there's a lot of fear mongering out there with varied amounts of vaccinations and things of that nature. But what I felt is that, look, I'm double vaccinated. There is a small percent chance that I could get this again. But if I stay safe, I'm probably likely to not. So
But that's what I want people to
I
do.
have a buffer for other people's lack of care
I just
for
want people to
others.
be that kind of buffer. And the key point to what you said is, as long as I'm careful, my chances of being safe are increased. And that's all I want.
Yeah, because
Because
there's
I
a
don't
still
think
amount
we're
of.
thinking about it.
I don't think so either. There's still a lot of kids that aren't vaccinated yet. So there's there's still a long way to go for herd immunity,
Mhm.
and half of adults ain't cutting it. You know.
No. And I'm not there yet. I'm going to do it because I want to travel and everything else is something that we've talked about. But the thing that has always, like, I've only had the flu twice in my life.
Hmm.
And then the only other time, that I've dealt with any sort of flu, anything was dealing with COVID earlier this year in January. Um, and my general reason is mostly because I am high risk. And it's just one of those things where it's always weird to me to put something in my body that's like a weakened version, and I want the my immune system to function properly, but I'm
Hmm.
already in a place where my immune system needs medication or other things to function properly anyway. So I always do things with kind of like I try to get as much information as I possibly can.
Hmm.
Um and I just try to be careful, but that's just me. Whereas most people would just, they lean into the conspiracy theories and everything else. And yeah, there's so much that you don't know that you can't know because there's no data representative of what the future will be. There's expectations of what the future will be, but there's no actual representative data that can tell you this is how the future of this will go, so on and so forth.
Yeah, but
But all in all, let's just do it.
I think we can use the past as a marker for apprehension, but
Yeah,
also as a marker for trust.
right.
You can use the past experiments and things of that nature on people of color when it comes to vaccinations. That was in the military, from from my understanding. But at the same time, we can use that as as a hey, maybe we should proceed with caution.
Yeah.
But a total write off, I don't know if that's the best way to move.
No, because you have to. We're juxtaposing two different things in terms of the weight of why, if we're going to talk about Black people's apprehensions of it, because it's not
Yeah,
just the vaccination thing. You could bring in the birthing rate of Black women in hospitals
yeah,
and the care. There's so many different points where it's like it's not just one aspect of the medical community or something failing us. There are a lot of aspects where
right.
we
Which
kind of just get left to the wind. Even when this was happening initially, they wanted to report that we were just more likely to get it.
yeah, yeah. I think understanding that there's some correlation, but not necessarily causation is the
Exactly.
key. So
And to we just kind of have to trust and use the information that you have people that you can talk to that you trust that
yeah,
either are informed in the field, work in the field, and know a little bit more than you do. It's good to get those perspectives, which is why we even have these conversations, which is why I even made my decision after getting as much information as I could for what was going to work with me. But I also am not just out here without my mask. I wear my mask when I go in anywhere, outside of like eating or whatever. But
yeah.
that's
So I think my kind of final recommendation is like, yo, if you're unvaccinated, wear your mask, protect others, including yourself. So I think we need to take away this kind of selfish perspective
mhm.
of, yo, I'm only looking out for me. Woe is me. My rights are being infringed on. Yeah, it's not all about you, dog. So
No. And say it one more time. It's not all about you, dog, because that's the biggest point that I wanted to make about having this conversation is no matter what side you're on, whether you're vaxxed or you're not vaxxed, it still ain't about you.
yeah,
It's just about us doing what we can to protect our society and protect our people, because nobody else is going to do it. We talked pre-show about just how, while people were saying open, open, and they're sitting safe somewhere in a bunker with tissue paper and
Right.
all kinds of cleaners, you got to protect you. So get your information. I hope this conversation helped a bit, or if somebody was on the fence or they were dealing with any of these things, because that's what we're trying to do. What is topic number 2?
Yeah. So off of PSA time,
Uh, which
let's
we do a lot.
let's
Which
elevate the mood a little bit. So
hey.
Kanye West reported
Oh,
to have his new project coming out, Donda, on
I like how you
Friday.
said elevate the mood.
So this is kind of reported by a tweet that was sent out by Beats by Dre. Kanye West, his song "No Child Left Behind" is featured in a promo for Beats,
Mhm.
featuring Shakari, and and basically, yeah, Donda is reported in this tweet to be out in 48 hours, and this was released yesterday. So
It'll be released by the time, if it's being released, you guys will hear it by the time you hear this episode.
yeah, so by the time this episode comes out, we'll figure out how wrong we are
Or right we are,
about the album.
because we're gonna get right one of these times.
So my first question is, what do you think? What do you think is going to happen with this record?
Okay. So first things first. I don't know. I feel like it's gonna be fire, but here's why. And it might take a couple years for it to be fire if it's not just amazing off the bat. Um, broken relationship Kanye is a different kind of Kanye. We got 808s and Heartbreak, which, if you haven't gone through anything, your first listen, you're not gonna feel it. But if you go back and you listen to that album and kind of see what he was building, and the things that he was um, jumping into, and the way he used auto-tune to a different effect than what I think a lot of artists have, it's a completely different place. And I see the same thing with this album, because not only you already did your gospel album um, in a way that was still weird to me because of Kanye being Kanye, but proclaimed by a lot of people as a really, really good album. I have not listened to it all the way through. I've listened to songs and snippets, but I've just been done with Kanye. But I don't think for a second that this album is about to flop, that this album is about to be something that's not impassioned, because at the hardest moments of his life, he done came through with heat, you
Yeah.
know. And I think that this will be one of those moments, because not only is he dealing with all of this scrutiny for his presidential campaign, he's dealing with, still dealing with his Trump support, all of this stuff. And he got something. Like, whenever you're that crazy genius of an artist, you can't miss. So that's my thought. What you got?
Um, I had another question before.
Oh.
So if you were to give it a number of flames, right? How many flames out
Oh
of
man.
five?
And 0 being Garbo.
Yeah, 0 is Garbo.
Let's
Five
go.
flames is like melt your ears, angels are singing.
Oh, we'll go a strong 3.75.
3.75 flames. Okay,
3.75
interesting.
flames.
So, it's hard for me to know what to expect from this record. I'm confident that it's going to be emotional. Kanye doesn't have a problem with tapping into his emotion and displaying that into a record. And what I'm concerned about is this being a tribute to Kim, so to speak.
Are you concerned? Because
I,
808's Heartbreaks was a tribute to Amber.
I get it, but I am concerned only because I'm not that invested in their relationship as a
Mm,
fan,
okay. Okay.
and not that I'm like kind of like in a space where it's like, yo, y'all should never been together or anything like that. Like that's not my business. I don't care about any of that. I just feel like that's not a big deal. You know what I mean? Their business is not a big deal, and so I don't know that I want to hear their business in this piece. But
Do you
that's a spectator type of opinion.
well, do you think this has the R&B effect, the Adele effect, so to speak? You know how thirsty people were for an Adele album after she got divorced? Like,
Um,
or Jasmine Sullivan, in the middle of a breakup, like those type of people. Um, I feel like Kanye is in that vein. He's just not R&B.
yeah, because it's emotional, right? Like
Right.
so, I believe you have a point. I just don't know if I want to hear it. So it'd be hard for me to be like, yo, this is. I'm gonna listen from I'm gonna use my producer ear. I'm gonna use
Mm.
my lyricist ear, and my songwriter ear to kind of listen to this record, and hopefully next week we can kind of report on how many flames we actually give it.
What's your flame rating?
My flame rating is probably gonna be a 3.
Okay, so I went a little higher than you did.
Yeah.
I will say this about your point, though. I do think it's gonna be terrible if he goes the actual route that I think you're thinking he will, which is the tribute "I Want You Back" album, which is what I think you're most fearing.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I ever thought about that. I just think
Because
I just don't. I don't want to hear about it. You
listen,
know what I
if we
mean?
get
It's
heartbroken
like
Kanye,
this.
it's a different bag.
It's like the tabloid thing, right? Like
Okay.
you hear it so much in the tabloids and all these other things and the rumors and all the stuff, and that's just like I don't like tuning into that stuff in in general.
Hmm.
And I know it can contribute to the art, but the art needs to be, in my opinion, it can be inspired, but I shouldn't hear it so much that I'm just like, this is another tabloid.
That makes
This
sense.
is more of
He's
like
gonna be
a,
a tabloid regardless.
yeah. I don't want to. I don't want the art to be a he say thing in this situation.
Oh, they're gonna do that. He could not say anything about Kim, and they're gonna dissect the line where he was like, "I'm going to Costco to get up. I'm going to Costco. Then I went to Chicken and Roscoe."
Hmm.
And they're gonna be like, "Ooh, him and Kim used to eat at Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles, and they used to save at Costco. So what he's trying to say is he wants to save the memory. Like you
And
already
then
know
he
it's
wants
coming."
to save his soul by doing another gospel album.
Oh,
Boom, theory.
and the cost for his soul is low, man. Like
So ridiculous.
I'm not ready for anybody's breakdowns on this album at all.
Yeah, so I think when it comes out, we'll take an opportunity to listen and see how we feel about it, and then we'll report, how many flames we think, and give it a decent breakdown next week
Yeah, we will. We might not go track by track, but I'll at least
for sure.
highlights and lowlights.
Yeah, it'd be hard to do on YouTube, but we can definitely listen and see, give it some
We may
breakdown.
save that for an overtime if we do that kind of breakdown, because then we can do whatever
True,
we want to.
true. Okay, so T Pain,
You
you
ready?
ready? You ready for the clip?
Are
So
you ready?
let's set it up. I don't know if from what I can tell, on social media and Instagram, they only played a clip of this clip.
Hmm.
So basically, T Pain goes on a rant talking about how repetitive music is and asking people to basically be as original as possible. Dr. Dre chimed in and said, T Pain is right. I feel that, dog. And so I'm curious about your thoughts on it. We're going to play a little bit of it and then we're going to talk about it. So let's run it.
Just you know when your shit sounds like somebody else's shit. You're making it because you think because you're in the studio like, what's the number one record right now? We need to make another one of those. Stop doing that. Stop. You're not original. Give me some original shit. Give me some. Are you seriously telling me that you sat here and watched me tell a bitch to eat a dick and you thought that wasn't original? Are you seriously sitting here telling me that eat a dick is the bad part of music? Stop! Just fucking do something else! Just, god damn it! Do some different music!
I love it every time I listen to it.
So, so what do you think?
Okay, agreed. Just purely agree. Um, the hardest thing nowadays is that imitation is the best form of flattery for a lot of people. But it's a lot of people out here just trying to flatter everybody else and not trying to beat themselves. Um, I know for a fact, I grew up on the East Coast, Southern everything. I grew up on T.I., I grew up on Wayne. So a lot of times when I would freestyle, and even sometimes when I freestyle now, those end up being some of the cadences that I end up falling in. Um, but I'm still me, and I tell my stories. I change the dynamics of what I'm doing up. I try to step in a bag. I don't think on any song, like while people may try to find somebody that fits how um, I sound like me, but that's because that's something I've chased because I want it to be nothing but me. A lot of the artists nowadays, um, it's just a money grab. It's an entry into something else that they want to do ultimately. It lowers the artistry. It lowers the desire to kind of be better. And it lowers the uniqueness. A lot of people could take advantage of the fact that you are able to reach audiences in wide variety, such a variety that you have not been able to reach before. And you can try different things to great success that might not be, Drake Billboard success, but could be a Tyler the Creator kind of success, which
I
is
mean,
still
I'd
much
argue,
higher than what people get it credit
yeah,
for.
yeah. What you're saying, yeah, like Tyler the Creator's success is still higher than what people think, but he's a
Especially
Grammy.
now.
He's a Grammy winner, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, don't, yeah. I feel like they both should get their flowers at the same level.
Yeah.
That's a side note, but were you finished?
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so my only concern about this rant, and not that I believe that he's wrong or anything like that, but it's two sides of a coin.
Mm-hmm.
Whose fault is it? Whose fault that is it that music is so repetitive? Is it the artist who's choosing to make it, or is it the audience who prefers to listen to a certain thing? You see what I'm saying?
I throw a third aspect in there because
The
there's
industry.
the artist, the industry. There's the artist, the industry, and the audience. The
Okay, so I see your point here, right? So like
It's like rock, paper, scissors.
Here's what I think about it. Like it's this triangle. What is that? Illuminati. There we go.
Wow. That's not where I thought you were going with that.
I drew a triangle, so I was just like, nah, we're not going there. Anyway, so industry is feeding to their audience, right?
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing about feeding to the audience. Most of the stuff that gets there, that reaches the audience, that audience even knows about in the first place, is due to the dollars. Because it takes hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions, in order to promote an act. Or to even, I believe, I don't think we did it on this show, but I remember looking up an article about how much money it took to just make one of Rihanna's hit songs. And it was upwards of close to $500,000 because there's the songwriters that are involved, there's putting up the songwriters that are involved, there's the production piece of it, there's the recording of the record, getting the artist to actually do the record, buying the record from somebody else, and then finally putting all those pieces together in order to make a final product. And that's just making the product in and of itself. And so on the back end, after the product is done, there's another factor of hundreds of thousands of dollars that's invested into making sure that everybody sees that this exists. That's the biggest crux that most independent artists have, is that people don't even know that they exist. Right. So you could be good, but people don't know you exist.
And to enhance your point in terms of why this is a rock, paper, scissors, the industry doesn't want to spend all that money on a chance. I want my investment back. So if I can carbon copy this person, I'm going to carbon copy this person. Unless you are a name that is an original that is doing your thing, because then I can cater something new because I'm able to bring in these producers, these songwriters. And as long as it's this person's voice who we've pushed and deemed, then we can try something new. And by new, I just mean in their wheelhouse, but we haven't seen them do too much of whatever.
Yeah.
The rock, paper, scissors of it is, if the fans and the artists just work together, like what they do in a lot of ways, they would be strong. But the fans in the industry are more aligned than fans and the artists.
Yeah, because they have the ability to take the data. They have all the data. They have all the information. They have more data than what we know. And they use that data to make new records of the same caliber. And oftentimes they only fund the records that sound like the other records.
And they're going to do that because that's their bread and butter.
That's business.
That is plain and simple. It's business. You don't go in with a new business model every day. You go with what's successful because you want to continue to make money. So with that being said, we as the audience have to change the market so they know that it's safe. And that's a difficult thing because there are people we're just not going to like and we don't like the music or whatever, but the industry is so powerful. And this is where I think I don't give them an escape from this. You know where you can find an audience for somebody. You know there are so many different platforms and avenues that you can put up to try and do something new. It's whether or not they try to do it, because whatever you put out, industry, the masses are going to rock with because that's their early adopter. That's their well, not early adopter, but that's the popular aspect of what it is that they're following.
It at least has a better chance because they
Right.
can hire better songwriters, better producers, etc.
Yeah, you just have to shine these diamonds in the rough, um, or just get them to the platform where they can. Because a lot of the times, it would cost you less money to say help a new artist get studio stuff together. Like, hey, we're not going to fund your tour, we won't fund this, but we'll give you this amount to get you to a place where recording for you is a little bit easier. It's a lower cost expense than paying that songwriter and all these other persons or people and doing all the publishing and stuff for that. But you have to kind of believe in that, and that's artist development, and the fact that artist development has kind of died in a certain way. Um, but you have to take that chance because you have the money. It's just like we were saying earlier, it's harder to try and do a new business model when the one that you're currently working with is so successful, and it's majorly successful with that.
Yeah, for sure, to the tune of billions and billions of dollars. So when I think about audience and kind of trying to figure out whose fault it is, right? It's hard to blame somebody that is, for lack of a better term, complacent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because audience members, and we've talked about being audience members that aren't as active in digging for new records and stuff like that. So most people aren't in a place where they want to search for new songs. They kind of happen on to new songs. Hear it in a grocery store, hear it in an elevator. Somebody else is playing it that they know, and they Shazam it or something like that. Like those are some examples of the audience actually taking the time to do some research, but that research has to come to them first. And how it got to them is usually through the dollars.
Yeah. And I just, with this, the biggest call from this is for people to be original. It's for you to try and be yourself. And I know that it is hard. I do it all the time. We face it every time that TJ and I try to make a song. It is the biggest obstacle that anybody faces. Is just being you, because
Yeah.
you have to be you long enough that people start to like you, essentially. And it's not to say that you being you is a bad thing. It's just people are used to carbon copies of other people's yous. People are used to this, a traditional you, or whatever the case may be. And it requires a lot of you to just be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But no one can be you better than you. And by doing that, you solidify yourself at a level of greatness that nobody can ever reach. Because if you're following in behind somebody, and not in a way of like, okay, I'm going to take a tool that KRS-One, Big Daddy Kane, Jay-Z, Lupe Fiasco, Royce the 5'9" gave me, because this is a road that they paved. So I'm choosing to walk on it. But if I don't take that road somewhere different, if I don't at least try to take it somewhere that's my own walk, then I didn't do anything, to me,
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah. And I think you have to have this air of being special, something that is uniquely you in order to survive in the music industry anyway. Because those folks that come in, they repeat other people, eventually they flame out because they only had one trick in the first place. So, and even those folks that are like most successful right now, right? He mentioned in the thing, the baby, little baby, right? Both babies are
We got all the babies covered.
both babies are doing pretty well, but they're unique in their own right. So you have to give people credit where credit is due, right? Even though all of the music may not resonate with you, still those people are unique in their own way. Even the other baby, Birdman, right?
Mhm.
So all the babies are good.
You know, and the biggest thing about any of this, think about all of the different artists that you like. What makes them unique? A lot of the time, it's their unique story, it's their unique voice. Wayne was unique because at a time in the late 90s, he was a kid rapping about real life issues. It was a juxtaposition from what we knew Bow Wow to be later on and what we knew like Lil Romeo to be. Like Wayne was really that in terms of everything. You're like, whoa, that's a hard life for a 13-year-old. That's a hard life for a 16-year-old, you know, like, but that's what made him different. And then on top of that, you add his voice to it, where his voice is his voice, even though he sounds, you know, like if you were in New Orleans, he probably doesn't sound too different in terms of accent, drawl, or whatever, but his voice is unique to himself. The same thing like with Drake, the singing and so on and so forth. Pusha T, Kanye, Jay, like these voices are distinctly different because they started with themselves and added the music. And you can do the same thing. Start with you, because there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with the way you talk, or anything. And I realized my rap voice is way different from my actual talking voice in a certain way. And I was listening to that the other day. It's like people do the head turn where it's like, huh? But
Hmm.
it's still me, or at least I feel like it's still me.
Yeah, I think that took a long time for me to understand my rap voice and even find it right. Like my performance voice is way different, but it it was a work in progress, right? It was recording and listening over and over again in order to find exactly who I was. But I want to go ahead and close out so we can get to overtime. We got a few things to talk about. I want to definitely say rest in peace to Bismarcky. Rest in peace
Yeah.
to DJ No Name back home.
Mhm.
And yeah, just peace and blessings to their
Um,
fam.
but before we do all that, before we close out, I want to say, and this is a random spot to do it. I meant to do it at the top of the show. But shout out to Latin God.
Oh, we're gonna get
Shout
there.
out.
I hadn't forgot about it.
You getting double shout outs. I wanted to do you on both on both portions because that really means a lot. The comments are there and it's something to kind of engage. We appreciate it. We appreciate you. Please remember that if you want to hit us up, email us at nrorpodcast@gmail.com. Our links to our socials, follow us, the people that'll be down there in the description things. Uh, we're going to do this again because it's fun. Please, if the Kanye album comes out, know that we're listening. Know that, you know, you're going to get our thoughts on it next week or week after next, basically. So, you know, be a little patient. Know that we're listening and know that these episodes are, you know, us working stuff out. So until next time, a 1 and a 2 and a 3. Peace.
Peace.